The music in this video is brought to you by Audio Socket. They're a music licensing company that offers unlimited access to over 80,000 tracks from about 2,000 different artists. So if you're looking for music for your YouTube channel, Instagram, and etc., you should definitely check them out. Hey there, it's me, SHANiA, and I'm back again with another video for you.
SHANiA, SHANiA.
If you're new to this channel, my name is SHANiA, and on this channel I have loads of sewing tutorials. Some of the tutorials are from things that I've made from scratch, from fabric to finish, and some of the tutorials are of garments that I've upcycled and refashioned. So check it out! So today I'm going to be showing you how to make these super cool bias strips, and when you put them together you create bias tape. What is bias tape? So bias tape is basically a long strip of fabric that's made up of smaller strips of fabric like this, and the smaller strips of fabric are cut at a 45-degree angle, which is also known as the bias. Cutting your strips on the bias is good for flexibility, it's good for preventing fraying, and it's also good for reducing bulk. With these strips, there's a little bit more flexibility as opposed to if they were cut the long way. So if you look at this strip here, you can see that there's fraying here, right? But there's no fraying on the edges, right? So once you have all of these strips and you connect them to create one long strip, the places, like the points where the seams connect, once you fold them, there is a lot less bulk than there would be if you were just cutting like, you know, straight strips of fabric. There are so many ways that you can use bias tape. So most of the time when I use bias tape, it's to create a drawstring. So for example, when I made this super duper cute top, I created a drawstring for the top using the bias tape method. But you can also use it to create something like a button loop, or you can finish a raw edge with it. It's super versatile, and there's so many different uses for bias tape. Before I show you how to make the bias tape, I want to show you how to cut your bias tape strips in bulk. Starting with the fabric, and we have the selvage side and we have the right side. And the right side really isn't important as much as the selvage side is. If you don't have the selvage side, then it's okay as well. So you're basically going to take the bottom corner and you're going to bring it up to the edge. You want to just create a nice little triangle, like so. Once you do that, you'll see the selvage side is now at the top. So then from there, you're going to take this point and you're going to bring it down here. Okay. Then what you'll notice is that you have a folded area like this, and then if you do like this, you have the sort of flap right here. So you want this flap to be a straight line rather than a diagonal. So to do that, you're just going to rotate like this. So you should have like a nice little F like so. And on the side of your F, you have the open flap, and at the top of the F, you have the folded part. And then once you do that, you're just going to take this and you're going to fold it down. And I like to fold it to the bottom point of the triangle. Right? So you have a shape like this. Now what you want to do is you just want to trim this off. It doesn't have to be a huge chunk. You just want to trim it so that you're able to free up the layers, because essentially this is the layers, but you can't get to them because they are folded. So what I like to do is I like to take my ruler and I like to just draw a line. And again, it doesn't have to be big. You just want to be able to get those creases off. get those folds away. And then I just draw a line. And then once I've drawn my line, I take my scissors and I cut straight up that line. So now we've freed up the layers, right? We've freed them up. So you see now they're open, they're all open and single. Okay, so then you're going to just measure your bias tape width. So if I wanted, 2 inches, then I would measure, I don't know. I usually do 1 inch and 1/4. But for this demonstration, I'm just going to do 1/2 inch since this is a smaller scale. And you're gonna go all the way down. So your line should even come onto this flat area too, right? And I'm just going to make all of my marks. I highly suggest you invest in a cutter and a mat, because when you have this, you literally would just go straight, as opposed to when you have the scissors, it's a lot more work. And especially when you're dealing with a hefty amount of fabric, it is even more time consuming. Okay, so now we have our 6 pieces that we cut. And when you open them, you'll see that you have your bias strips. So you have this, right? And then you have this. And you know that they're bias strips because they have these diagonal ends. And sometimes you'll get 2 pieces when you open it. But this is a lot, right? It's a lot from just a little. This is what your fabric bias strips will look like, and now what you want to do is you want to connect them so that you have one long bias strip. So in order to connect them, you want to make sure that the right side of one piece is facing up, and then you want to measure about 1/2 inch from the edge, and you want to place another strip 1/2 inch in from that edge and make sure that the right sides of both strips are facing, and you're going to pin it down. And you want to make sure that you're careful about where you pin it, because you're going to need to sew a slanted line and you don't want your pin to intercept with that stitching. So it should look something like this after you've finished sewing, and once you turn it right sides up, you'll see that it'll look like one continuous line. So you want to continue pairing the other pieces of the strips together to create one long flowing line. So again, you always want to make sure that your strips are facing up before you start to match the pieces together, and you always want to leave about 1/2 inch sticking out from the edge. Pin it down and then do a diagonal stitch like so, and you want to just continue this until you have connected all of your strips. So once you've finished connecting all of your strips to form one long strip like this, you'll notice that you have like little pieces sticking out from the edge. So you just can take your ruler and kind of mark off a straight line and then cut off those protruding edges. You could either use the scissors or you could use a rotary cutter. So there are a few different ways that you can go about making bias tape. One way is the manual way. I'm sorry about the drilling in the background. Perfect timing. So one way that you can make it is through like a manual way, where you basically take the edges of your fabric and you fold them into the center of your fabric. So you're just gonna fold one end of the fabric to the center, fold the other end of the fabric to the center, and then you're going to fold the fabric in half again, and then you're going to stitch along the edge to keep the fabric closed. A second way that you can make it, and my favorite way, is with a bias tape kit. So this is what the bias tape kit maker set looks like. It comes with needles and all the actual bias tape maker, and then a presser foot for your machine. Take your strip of fabric and you're gonna put it inside of the maker, and you're gonna pin down the end of the strip that went through the maker, and you're just going to lightly pull on the maker while you are ironing flat the folded fabric. And when you're done, it'll look like this. And then what you want to do is you want to fold the strip of fabric in half like so that it's closed, and you're just going to do a straight stitch down along the edge. When you're done, your bias tape should look like this. I'm sorry this shot is a little blurry, but you get the general idea, right? The third way that you can make it is just by buying it. They come pre-made, so that's another option if you don't want to make it. Okay, so let's talk sizing. If you're manually making your bias tape, the size can be anything because you're literally doing it yourself. But if you use like a bias tape kit maker, then you're limited to 4 sizes: a 1/4 of an inch, a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and 1 inch, which is a pretty good like variety to choose from. And when you buy it in the store, I believe they come in 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and so forth, different sizes as well. And the size that you go for depends on what it is that you're making, what style, design, effect you want to have on your overall creation. So there is definitely a plethora of choices, a plethora of sizes to choose from when you're dealing with bias tape. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you want to see ways that bias tape can be incorporated into designs, you should check out my tutorial for this super cute backless crop top. And you should also check out my tutorial for the drawstring animal print skirt that I made from a pair of pants. If you have any questions or you just want to share some love, feel free to leave a comment below. And if you like this video, tickle that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.